Hello and welcome into the KE Report. I'm your host, Shad Markwitz, and today we're getting an update on Thor Explorations. Thor is traded on the TSX.V under the ticker THX, and on the London Exchange under the same ticker, THX, and on the OTC markets under the ticker THXPF. And I'm joined today with the President and CEO of Thor Explorations, Segun Lawson. And Segun, always great to get you back on the show for an update. We're going to be diving into some exploration news later in this episode, but I want to kick it off with the news that you put out to the market on July the 13th, going over your Q2 2025 operations. This is at your operating Segilola mine in Nigeria. Of course, you have two other exploration projects in Senegal and in Cote d'Ivoire, and we'll get to those. But let's start with Segilola and some of the high-level metrics you want people to take away from the Q2 highlights from operations.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on again. Really enjoy these chats. Q2 was building on the great start we made to the year in Q1. So we poured, a very similar number, just under 22,800 ounces for the quarter. And we had some sales that came in from the end of Q1 into Q2. So we sold more than we poured. We sold 25,900. We have completely unwound our hedge position. So we had excellent exposure to these high gold prices, resulting in a record revenue of $82.5 million. So we're really pleased with that. We finished Q1 with a net cash position of 25 million, having fully repaid our debts at the end of 2024. So this is building on that, continuing to strengthen our balance sheet, very strong cash flows, and we've done this whilst being very disciplined with our costs, which should come in line with our guidance of between $800 and $1,000 per ounce.
Yeah, when you say that, I want people listening in to think about that. Your costs are between $800 to $1,000 an ounce. The gold price is up near 3,300, 3,400. So just think about how fat those margins are. And to the point you just made, Shagun, and we've talked about this before, you paid off all your debt. You're just bringing in cash flows now, but you've also got the hedges off as a result of that. So this is a great time to be a gold producer, especially with those kind of margins. That's better than most of the majors. So just, I think, an interesting point for Thor Explorations. Now, I know that one of the immediate concerns for the company is to extend the mine life at Segilola, and you're doing a lot of exploration under the pit at depth and also some regional and near mine surface drilling. Let's start with the drilling you're doing under the pit and the deeper drilling, because I think that's the low-hanging fruit for the company.
Yes, we're certainly continuing our drilling underground. It's hugely material for us. Now we've fully repaid our capex. We have no big capex requirements. We fully repaid our debt. So every incremental year of mine life here is hugely material to our bottom line, should I say. So the drilling has been ongoing. We have been at it for the entire year. At the end of Q2, we drilled about 12 holes. We've picked up on the rate of drilling now since the end of Q2, and we are now commissioning our own rig. So we'll have probably about 4 rigs on this underground drilling, continuing to chase this. And then once we get to a critical mass of drill intersections, we'll update the market with that. So that's all ongoing, and that's going to be going on throughout the course of the year. It's our top priority, extending this mine life. I think our last announcement on this, we showed we are intersecting mineralization below the existing mine plan. Historically, we have delineated a resource underneath the existing mine plan, and we continue to do so with the existing drilling. So we're very encouraged by this. This is progressing, and we look forward to updating the market with this.
Well, in addition to the deeper drilling, you're also still looking at targets that are on the surface near the mine and also regionally for potential other open pits that you could have as satellite deposits. And like you say, your sunk cost is covered, your debt's repaid. So even if you found small deposits at surface, if they're within trucking distance, it'd still be very value accretive for the mine and extending mine life. Any update on some of the work going on the surface drilling?
Well, that's exactly right. Look, every single ounce now is extremely important for us. We have satellite deposits within trucking distance. We have some that are slightly further away. In fact, part of our program with these new rigs that we have purchased ourselves is to also increase the rate of drilling we're doing on these additional deposits. Now, all of this is feeding into our revised mine plans or mine life extension, which we're pretty much going to be aggregating together, the underground and the satellite deposits. Historically, we have drilled, a number of very small deposits within trucking distance of the mine. And then we're also going to be pulling these small deposits, which are very high grade, and aggregating them into a mine plan.
Now, when you do that, when you get these underground results out to the market and some of these other satellite pits, would you put out a an economic study, or like when you say the mine plan, is it just something where you just update through the news that, hey, here's what we think we can extend the mine life? How would that work as far as messaging to the market, how you could extend things at Segilola?
No, not just yet. I think there are three stages to this. One would be the drilling results. Second one would be updating the resource, and then third one would be the mine plan itself. So I think it's important to note that drilling is it's ongoing. It's not we haven't budgeted we don't intend on stopping the drilling. It's always ongoing. We think that there's always going to be targets to drill. We think that we can keep going deeper. So it's going to be a moving target, should I say? But the plan is to periodically update the market with our progress and for people to be able to, with full transparency, so for people to be able to see and work out, that there is, should I say, production beyond the initial mine life. So that's ongoing, and that will be happening in due course as well.
All right. So I guess the key takeaway for people listening in is that there is a lot of initiatives in place with exploration to extend the mine life, and there's a lot of success the team is having. So we'll wait on those results. When they come out, let's get you back on. We'll do an update at that time. But the plan is there and in place, and the company is working hard to keep pushing the mine life out because it's just gravy on top of gravy at this point, especially at the cost profile the company's operating at. So nice to see things moving right along at Segilola. Let's shift over to Senegal down to the Douta project. And you're working towards a PFS, a preliminary feasibility study, but you've done a lot of drilling there too. Some of that drilling has been at that Baraka 3 prospect, and you're going to be incorporating that into some of the data. So give us a nice update on how things are going over at the Douta project.
Yeah, look, we've just finished drilling ahead of the rainy season. We set out to drill 8,000 meters. We ended up drilling above 11,000 meters. So we're very happy with that. Now we're waiting for all the results to come in. And once we get all those results, they'll be released to the market. So we do have a backlog of news flow from across all our projects. We've already kicked that off with our release in Cote d'Ivoire earlier this week. But like you rightly say, Baraka 3 is an important component to the Douta PFS. So, we'll be incorporating any ounces we discover there into an updated resource and then subsequently into the preliminary feasibility study.
Now, will you release the resource as a separate study first and then do the PFS afterwards, or will they come out and together, or how are you going to do that?
Yeah, look, I think because we have done a lot of the PFS work streams anyway, probably be pretty close together. But, I think the resource will come before the PFS.
Well, and just for people that are not familiar with some of the previous talks we've had, remind them that you have the Makossa main resource, the Makossa tail, you've connected all that deposit. You found another parallel Makossa East prospect that you've been working on and some of that new land you picked up. And then this Baraka 3, just talk about the significance to it and why it's important for factoring in the economics on this new area.
Yeah, look, we at a certain point, just while we were on the PFS pathway, we drilled two discovery holes at Baraka 3. I think the significance of this was these are wide intersections, very decent grade, and they want a structure that continued for a few kilometers. So look, it would be very, very critical, or should I say material, to the overall project economics, but also possibly to the overall project mine sequencing as well, which is why we thought it was very important to have this phase of drilling completed, delineate a resource, no matter how small it was or large it was, and incorporate it into the overall mine plan and preliminary feasibility study.
Well, it's definitely an important milestone coming up for the company, something we'll keep following along with. I just know there's a lot of hard work with the exploration team on the ground and a lot of new targets that you continue to find on this land package. And I don't think you found the extent of it yet. There's still other targets you'll get at, but at one point, you've got to wrap some further economics around the project. And so, very excited about the upcoming PFS. We'll keep our eyes peeled for that study. But let's also talk about project number three here, the Guitry Gold project in Cote d'Ivoire. Now, you just released the results on the 21st of July from the maiden drill program. And so you did about 3,000 meters of RC drilling. Talk to us about some of the results and some of the holes that you released in this presser.
Yeah, look, it was a great start to our venture into Côte d'Ivoire. We picked up this license last year. We've been getting this thing drill ready, reinterpreting historical data, getting out into the field, and then designing a drill program based on a new hypothesis in terms of structural controls. I pleased to say it was a success, drilling through a number of parallel lodes, which remain open along strike and at depth. I think critically and very importantly, prior to our drilling, there was no real drilling that had intersected the deep bedrock. We've successfully done that as well, and that remains open at depth. Our deepest holes have some great intersections, 5 meters wide at 12 grams per ton, for example. So we're very encouraged by this. We look forward to coming back after the rainy season, after which we're going to pick up this program and see where it takes us. We've set ourselves an internal milestone target. Well, we've set ourselves a milestone target now of getting to a maiden resource in Côte d'Ivoire this calendar year, and we're hoping that lands somewhere above 500,000 ounces. So that would get us in a fantastic position in terms of diversification of our projects. We'll have a producing mine, we'll have a mine, a preliminary feasibility study and looking to build, and then we have this exploration with a maiden resource as well. And that's not the only thing we're doing in Côte d'Ivoire. We have a second project which has continued to excite us from the exploration results. We've delineated a very strong anomaly, which is 5 kilometers long in the soils, and also reconfirmed that in some very high rock chip geochem results, grading 28, 29 grams per ton in some samples, and 10 grams, 12 grams per ton as well. So we'll be doing 2 drill programs in Côte d'Ivoire after the rainy season. Extremely excited. And with those drill programs, I think that news flow as early exploration should be quite frequent as well. So we've got a great base in Côte d'Ivoire from which to grow from.
Yeah, I really think the company's coming to its own here over the last couple of years. Not only do you have the producing asset in Nigeria with exploration upside, the Douta project, project number two, finally growing to that, epic size, and it looks like a great project to build for the company. So you got production, you got development, but then these 2 projects in Cote d'Ivoire, and I thought you even had 3 at one point. These give you this whole new sizzle, the upside of exploration and discovery drilling, and it's a whole new area and very exciting. So you're really hitting on all cylinders here. Anything else you want to say about the vision for the company as far as how people should think of the company? I mean, the name is Thor Explorations, but it's really Thor Production Development and Explorations. Anything else you want to say from a big picture about what you're looking forward to the balance of the year and moving into next year?
Yeah, I think first I'll say you're right. It is 3 projects, 3 licenses we have in Côte d'Ivoire. But Guitry and Marahui, the 2 projects have really, really advanced and really excited us, which has meant that we're focusing on those 2 as a priority at the moment. So it is 2 projects that I keep referring to, but in terms of our landholding, there are 3. And then for the balance of the year, look, I think we're very well positioned. If we look back over the last 6 months and say we've repaid our debts, we've declared a dividend and paid our first quarterly dividend, next one coming up in a few weeks. Our balance sheet continues to strengthen. Our net cash position continues to grow. We just had a record quarter in terms of revenue of $82.5 million. So we're generating very strong cash. And that's just our producing mine. As you rightly say, we have significant upside coming from 2 other jurisdictions in Senegal. I think it's a major milestone getting to a preliminary feasibility study and having some economics attached and associated to this project for the first time. So we're excited by that. And I personally think that's a catalyst in terms of shareholder value. And then lastly, in Côte d'Ivoire, we couldn't have asked for a better start in terms of our drilling results and our soil and rock chip sampling. We'll be back there after the rainy season and looking to, drill these 2 projects out at the same time between now and the end of the year. And it's a great position to be in. We don't need external capital to do any of this, so there'll be no shareholder dilution, and we're sustainably returning money to our shareholders whilst ticking all these boxes. So I think the company's in a very strong position. We're excited to be here, and yeah, look forward to updating everyone with our progress. There's certainly a lot going on at Thor.
Well, there is a lot going on with Thor, really at all three projects, all three jurisdictions. So we'll keep following along with the news here at the KE Report. And for those of you listening in, if you want to follow along with the news, definitely click on the link below down in the show notes. It takes you right over to the Thor Explorations website, straight to their news section where you can sign up for updates and have them hit your email inbox or just follow along with the news as it hits the wires. Segun, keep us posted. We'll get you back on when you got more news out. And I think it's going to be a busy second half of the year, so really looking forward to that. And as always, looking forward to our next conversation.
Thank you very much, Chad.